Hi everyone, good morning. I didn't listen to you. Good morning. Okay, very nice. Well, first of all, I'd like to congratulate Aveiro in the name of the mayor, José Esteves, because now we will talk about cities. And this panel, Sustainable Tourism and Cities of Tomorrow, it's an important panel in this impact stage that we will begin this day because everyone wants to live in the livable city, want to live in the city of the future. And Aveiro, with these 4 words, is become also a city of tomorrow, a city with future. I believe that one of the endless resources that we have is our love in the city that we live, and because of that, the identity is very important. The identity develop the pride that we have in the place that we live. The identity develop the belonging, the self of belonging of the place. So for this panel, where we will discuss how cities can balance tourism growth with environmental preservation, promoting practices that minimize the impact in the ecological ecosystems and benefit local communities. Discover innovative urban strategies to create sustainable, smart and resilient destinations, but also resilient communities, where tourism drives progress without compromising the well-being of the future generations. So that's why we will have Carolina Mendonça living in Azores, and will be with us online. And also Miguel Plantier. Miguel Plantier, please come to me at this stage. And Roberto Antunes. A round of applause also. Please. Thank you. Please have a seat. So, before we start, and we will start with Carolina, I would like also to give a word to Sergio, that during these 5 years is developing this Planetiers World Gathering that is very important to join brilliant and inspire people to come with us with good message, great projects, inspired projects, and innovative actions. So once again, because I think that it wasn't enough, a round of applause to Sergio and all team of Planetiers that put all these 5 years raising ideas. Thank you, Sergio. Carolina is a sustainability coordinator at Azores, DMO, driven by a passion to make positive change, and with her background in tourism and sustainable management. And also, she worked as a sustainable consulting, supporting over 200 local business and companies in Azores, creating a company ecosystem or enterprise ecosystem in Azores. Carolina, once again, this year online, because Carolina was with us with a panel with me last year, and I was fascinated with the DMO project in Azores, and I hope that we have a follow-up of this project. I know that Carolina have a presentation of her project, so I would like to hear, and we would like to hear about the project in sustainable tourism in Azores. Carolina, are you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly. Good morning, everyone. It's such an unfortunate that I can't be there with you this time, but it happens that we are organizing our own conference about tourism this year as well, so that's why I'm not there with you today. But congratulations to everyone, to Sergio, to Aveiro, for doing this conference again and for joining like-minded people in this event. So I will start sharing my screen. Please let me know if you can see it, and I promise to be brief. You can see it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So again, good morning. Just to give you a little bit of framework, I'm an Azorian citizen as well. I was born in the Azores, and since very early, I developed this strong passion for the place where I live. I truly believe we live in paradise, and I think that we should all do something to preserve and conserve this little paradise that we have in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. And to start with, as we are talking about sustainable tourism, I would like you to tell me, where would you feel happier if in images on the left of the screen, or in images on the right side of the screen? Well, I don't know if you're speaking.
Wait, I heard some smiles, so maybe they get confused.
Confused about the images?
No,
Where
no,
would you-
I was joking.
Okay. So, it's the truth is that we would all feel happier in the images on our right. And nowadays we talk a lot about things like well-being, happiness, and what gives us purpose and this sense of fulfillment in the life that we're living in. But in the other end, we are all living in this really chaotic world nowadays, where all the indicators say that we are living outside our safe operating space. And in fact, the fact is that all the things that are contributing to us living in more happiness, more fulfilling, a more peaceful life are inside our social foundation, where we have energy, health, housing, food, and all the basic stuff so that we can live our life in fulfillment. Why am I talking about this? Because when you look at the Azores, we are 9 islands, very asymmetrical in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. We have 19 municipalities, so I cannot talk about one specific city. I will talk about a destination, about a place. And we are with very good numbers about tourism, and GDP is a really good indicator about how we are progressing in tourism, for example, and in many other sectors. And it's great that we have achieved record numbers in overnight stays in 2023, but this is not the only number that we should look at. And this is what I wanted to bring you today. We are not looking just to GDP numbers, we are moving beyond GDP. And this is my contribution today for what I see is the sustainable tourism in the future. So for the Azores, we have this strategy with 4 main pillars, like the distribution of the tourism flow, mitigation of seasonality, the improvement of service, the quality of service. And I would like to highlight here that residents should always be part of the tourism development equation. So if the place itself is not more sustainable, we will never have a more sustainable tourism. So I would like to put here these 4 fundamentals for a more sustainable destination. So first of all, the top-down leadership with an holistic governance model. I will talk about all this 4 further. We should be measuring the wellness and happiness of the population and other indicators beyond GDP. Also to implement long-term strategy and commitments, and to be accountable. We should be accountable of what we pledge. It's not just about a commitment, but it is about showing that we are actively implementing the actions we proposed. So we want to focus here on quality and not quantity, but many times we see the quantity winning. So let's start with the holistic governance model. The Azores DMO in 2018 has created this green teams in each island, where we can hear about the main challenges and problems that each island faces. As you could see in the first image, the Azores are 9 islands, so we have many asymmetries in each island, and we cannot have this same policies or actions or projects to all the islands in the same way. So the green teams are the true protagonists of the sustainable development of the Azores, and they have a very important role here. So we take all these problems as challenges to the working groups, governmental working groups, to say, okay, this problem is happening locally, what are you doing or what you plan to do in order to mitigate this specific problem? And then we can collect the commitments that will contribute to this long-term strategy. And what are these commitments? They are environmental and social measures that we integrate in a sustainability action plan that you can read in our website. It's all, the process is all very transparent, and you can check for all the documents in our website. So, for example, the Azores concludes a roadmap to carbon neutrality by 2023. Many passengers of our local airline company are voluntarily contributing to carbon offsetting program. We have many environmental and conservation programs. Of course, the mobility and the electricity and the renewable energies are always one of the main pillars of this strategy. And of course, the accountability. So with EarthCheck certification, we can collect data, we can show that this is an ongoing process, and every year we have on-site audits with the third-party auditors that come to see if we are really complying to all the criterion of EarthCheck certification. That goes way beyond just measuring GDP, but of course measuring environmental indicators such as the waste sent to landfill, the electrical energy from renewable sources, the number of electrical vehicles and the charging points, social indicators as well, such as the education rate, the changes in health expenditure, the number of doctors per 1,000 inhabitants, the evolution of an unemployment rate, and many other indicators that will give us a more clear vision of the wealth and the well-being of the population. We are also moving beyond the business as usual. So with the sustainability charter of the Azores project, companies in the Azores can voluntarily subscribe to this project, where they have tailor-made consultancy about how they can integrate the ESG framework in their core businesses. We already have more than 300 people empowered, and many hours of consultancy carried out through workshops and capacitation sessions in many events in all islands. So
Carolina,
we
can we short it, because now we
yes,
have
this is the last slide.
Yeah. Thank you.
So we are still facing some challenges, as the data availability and indicators that we don't measure, such as some indicators related to well-being. We need to still improve the education in sustainability literacy, the public transportation and accessibilities, and access to capital. So to invest in new technologies, human and natural capital. But also we, through this approach, we have many opportunities, such as the increasing of resident satisfaction and well-being, to expand indicators and invest on monitoring tools, and attract eco-conscious investors to mobilize and catalyze more sustainable projects in the Azores, foster international partnerships, and reinforce community involvement and education. So thank you a lot for your attention.
Thank
If
you.
you scan that
Thank
QR
you.
code, it will
Thank
lead
you,
you to
Carolina.
our website.
And with that, and with this project, Azores become the first island settlement world certified by Earthcheck as a sustainable destination. And as you can see, and Sergio said in the opening, it's an idea of a project that we create an ecosystem governance and a way to join people, to make partnerships, to have goals and also energy, as Carolina has also with this project, that help to Azores become a destination certified, a sustainable destination certified by Earthcheck. So once again, thank you, Carolina, and we will back to you in this conversation. Now I would like to present, to introduce Miguel Plantier, Chief Operating Officer of Sublime Hotels, hospitality professional with over 15 years of experience in managing luxury hotels, operations across multiple regions. Miguel, as we can see in this project of Azores, but also in terms of the way that we want the tourism is nowadays is to be more sustainable. So it's very important that not only sustainability, but also to have identity, to give experience to people, but in a way that we are very genuine.
Right. I don't know if this is working actually.
It's working.
It is. Okay.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Let me just start with. I'm talking on a property level. So we have a big luxury hotel in Comporta, which is in the municipality of Grândola in the south of Portugal, and we have another one in Lisbon. This one is much tinier, so it has less work around it when it comes to sustainable practices. When you say that guests are looking for a sustainable place to go on vacation at, I think it's important for us to also be honest on what tourism brings, right? Like it brings a lot of economical development to regions where it's going to be working at, but it will always have an impact. We can talk about carbon offset, and I was looking at Carolina's presentation, and of course it's incredibly interesting to see a region being very committed to minimize its impact. It would just be, in my point of view, and what we've studied so far, and again, we come from like a sustainable property standpoint. If you come and stay a night with us, you will have an impact. There's no way in life that you can say that whoever is flying to come and see you, that takes a car to go and meet you, that will stay at the hotel, will use toilet paper, towels, all this stuff, will not have an impact. Can you make things to minimize it? Can you make sure that you also have other activities to kind of offset it? Sure. I personally don't think that carbon offset is the way to go. Like there's a lot of discussion as to what it really does and if that is actually a solution or not. For us, it kind of comes with let's also understand like what people want, right? If you think that for someone who travels, that going to a sustainable destination is the most important thing, then I think you're wrong. Because I honestly think that people go on vacation because they want to have a good time, right? Like if they find a place that is sustainable, that respects the environment, that's a big plus. But one thing that I think it's good for us to have as a starting point is that human beings are not in a position where they'll accept less comfort than they've already had. if you ask someone, do you want to go to a place there's no electricity, no heating, no air conditioning, everyone will say no. You have electric cars right now. They all have air conditioning, right? Because no one will accept to be driving at 35-degree weather.
It's another kind of holidays. It's adventure.
No, right. I understand, but it's very niche, right?
Yes,
Like so you want to make sure that you will give those comforts, but you have to understand it. Like most people, they think of themselves, and it's hard for us as human beings to see that. But it's at the end of the day, you care about the wars, and I'm obviously a gross generalization. Like there's a lot of people that.
But you are talking about the G of ESG, the transparency, the ethic, to be honest.
Listen,
make the people feel not only comfortable but also in a place that they are.
I just feel like
they have confidence.
Right, but I feel like that responsibility is ours as providers, right? Like it's not as of the consumer. Like there's one thing that we started looking at, like how can we make sure that guests leave a smaller footprint in their experience with us. And bear in mind that we are probably one of the most expensive resorts right now in the country, also because we have a lot of staff, we employ a lot of people, we have a lot of actions within the community that also cost a lot of money, right? But essentially what we found out is that, put a little paper on the room and says like, oh, if you put a towel on the floor, like we'll replace it. If not, it doesn't actually matter. Like most people won't follow it. It actually works against you. Like they feel like you're kind of cheaping out and they're not getting the value for money for what they've paid for. We also saw that, how can we make people use less water? Then we're like, maybe we don't put bathtubs in the rooms, but we've also understood.
And you feel the clients that are more aware today, because in the 80s, if I could.
Again, it's not. If you think that's the client's responsibility to do that, you're screwed, because they're not going to do it.
Yeah.
And as much as they want to have a sustainable
that
place,
that was my question.
They want to have the air conditioning running all day long. So it's up to you to control it. So what we did is that we made sure that we started it, using a sustainable way to water our plants. We recycle the water that comes from our house, from the villas and from the rooms, to make sure that we use this recycled water and not fresh water. We started. We took down the pressure of the water, which is very standard in the industry. We make sure that we put less towels than most five-star hotels would in your room, so for you not to use it, but don't ask you not to use it. We don't use any. It's not just plastic, because I feel like right now we have this war on plastic.
It's your investment, but also because it's your strategy. It begins with the strategy to reduce impact.
What I'm trying to say is that we're happy with the way that we've been able to decrease the footprint of the region itself. We measure it on a yearly basis, and it's been a good ride so far. But I just wanted to bring awareness to the fact that you should not put that responsibility towards the consumer. Same thing as like you have a yogurt company and you put a lot of plastic in your products, and then you say, it's the customer responsibility to recycle. So I think it's the same thing for tourism. Like you want to make sure that you take things in your hands. What I feel it's great when we saw Carolina's presentation is that there's a concertation between private sector and public sector, and that's probably like the way to go. That right now we don't see it happen everywhere, and this is sort of like what we're working at.
It's more that measure only the economic indicators, as Carolina said, is more than that. You have a lot of also KPIs today to measure and to set goals to reduce that footprint.
Right, and we do that. So we have a sustainability committee within our team, and we set short-term goals and long-term goals. Long-terms be more like related to energy use, water use, like all like the natural resources that we use there, like the forest preservation. All this. We span over like 67 hectares, so it's a big property that we have to take care of. The other part of the committee takes care of issues with the employees. We have we have 35 nationalities within our teams. We run a team of over 600 people in Comporta alone. We have to deal with the transportation, their housing, their well-being. So it's basically just another area of business on itself, just to take care of all these people there, without much help of like the local government or anything. but really what I wanted to bring here is that, you know, of course we portray ourselves as a resort that's eco-friendly to as much as you can go, right? But we're really flipping the page on this one. Like we're very wary of like not using any, you know, greenwashing claims to our customers, and we really like sat everyone down and we're like, the customer is like this. Like no one is willing to give up on their comforts. People are looking for a luxury vacation, and even if you're not looking for a luxury vacation, you're looking for a vacation. You don't. If you have to choose between two hotels and one is more sustainable than the other, then you'll go for that one. But you wouldn't go for the one that has no bed, right? Like you wouldn't go for the one that doesn't actually give you like a decent room. So we just, you know, if you start thinking that not all human beings are great, like not all human beings are looking at future generations, then you really start to, you know, roll up your sleeves and you work on actual solutions. Because if you're waiting for your guests
in any kind
to do that, then I don't think you're going to go very far.
Thank you, Miguel. So,
no worries.
Thank you for your applause. Roberto Antunes is Executive Director of NEST, Tourism Innovation Center Portugal, and he owns a degree in economics at the Nova University of Lisbon and a post-graduation in tourism management in Estoril School. As a career, Roberto also has a career of more than 20 years in multinationals in marketing roles. So, Roberto, not only with this introduction of Miguel and Carolina, how we can, in this process of sustainable tourism, also to build these cities with future, how can we relate these kind of projects and investments with the communities? Because nowadays it's very important also not only to host the people in the hotels, in the like a luxury hotels, for example, but also to engage the community to host well and also to live well with this tourism in a sustainable way. Not only the people that reduce the impact of the footprint, but also the sustainability with the communities.
Sure. I think the future, it was actually, well, first of all, thank you for inviting me. The future is actually, as Sergio said, working together. We go nowhere if we think that it does not need something that needs to be concerted together. The first word that I feel like saying after having heard these first two interventions, it's about education. Because we as human beings, we are contradictory. It's true. We kind of put up front, let's say, our comfort, the well-being of our closest dears. We care about what we see. If something happens somewhere in Greenland or whatever and we don't see it, we feel less engaged. And this is all about education. Education means that we have to level up our sensitivity to the impact that we cause to others, to the ecology, to animals. I also believe that in the planet we're not the only ones here, so we have to also consider that we're not so very good managers of resources, and we need to respect that there are other lives, even though we call it less intelligent than ours, but we also need to take care of it. And for this, you know, it's fundamental that at certain levels, that, you know, at school, at governmental levels, but also in the businesses, the tourism, even in Comporta, can understand that you are providing them options that they don't really understand in a first glance what is the impact, but with a great narrative, with a great storytelling, if they understand that their choices are impacting the inhabitants of that area, or if so, in some reason they understand they have access or they can immerse into a culture or gastronomy or history that can be protelated, given that they can make a little effort in their everydays and provide them as an alternative, I think people will become more engaged. They will start to connect the dots. They will start to understand that their choices have impact. So education first and foremost. And then second point I would say about...
And before the second, it was like Mayor said in the beginning that it's the identity, to understand the identity and the culture, or the local culture of the community.
Totally. This is the future of tourism. So it's about genuine experiences, and this is only we are only genuine if we go back to our identity. There's beautiful examples in all around, even here Aveiro. Look at how it has blossomed, given that it has looked back to its roots, to the salt, to the fishing, to the water, to the canals. That is what makes it different and unique. And if you keep up as a challenge to provide the innovation, to provide, the new narratives, even to go and dig those stories and even the history that we have not yet access to, but if we put some time and effort, we will dig and discover amazing facts.
It's like the book Invisible Cities of Italo Calvino that says that the cities there's no different cities that can be known for the same reason.
Yeah.
It's because each city has to be known for different reasons.
Absolutely, and that's where the beauty of tourism as an economic branch can be applied to anywhere in the territory. Is if you work into your identity. There's beautiful stories like Bendada, well, Aveiro I've just mentioned, but also Bendada, beautiful story of how, the granddaughter of these inhabitants of this little village that was becoming, with no people, really old people and dying, actually disappearing from the map, got to Boston and studied music, and then made this project that turned that little village as a spot in the world for children to learn music, which music was the identity of this little village. All those people around, somehow they knew how to play an instrument. So if we think about even beautiful examples of how little tiny villages in Iceland were disappearing, and the community started to dig into their the people that were, those families that were from those villages and where they are at around the world, and provide that they become ambassadors of that little village. So in a way that they were back again with an economy and people visiting and recapturing stories that made them who they are, and made them alive. And there's still economy there, and there is still young people working there. And so this is the beauty of working tourism in a way that can bring back the identity, made us proud of who we are in any place that we are, capturing the stories, making an economy be alive there, making sure that young people can actually have challenges on how to address to communication, maintaining the resources, and this is what I think we have to stimulate this to happen, and of course working in community.
Thank you, Roberto. Carolina, I saw in your presentation that you developed your idea and your project based on a donut economy, that at the same time that you measure some ecological impacts, you also measure the quality of living of the people. Can you talk about more than this inspire or this scientific base that you develop your project? Because I think that is very important nowadays to turn the economic model to living not only in tourism but in a lot of the sectors that we have.
Thank you for your question. First of all, I would like just to say that I completely agree with Roberto regarding preserving the identity of a destination, of a city, and it's super important to preserve the identity of a place, so that we can have more immersive and authentic experiences. So agreeing with that and trying to answer to your question, we have this vision of putting the Azores and the cities in the Azores in that framework of in the safe operating zone. And the way to do that is it's redefining the success of our story. What I mean is that we should not be looking just to GDP as an indicator. It is a good indicator. We should be continue to look at it, but for one end, we want to add, yes, not the only one, we want to add value to our GDP. So we don't want to have mass tourism in the Azores. We don't want to ever have mass tourism in the Azores. That will completely compromise our identity as a destination and as a place. We want that people, local people, the residents, still have the sense of place, still have the sense of belonging to that place. And the way to do that is to assure that they have quality of life, that they can continue their traditions, their way of living, and all that. So, what we are doing in order to fit the Azores in that safe zone is to measure these indicators. And this is one of our main challenges as well, but we are taking the first steps. And what helped us was this certification process. It really helped us to take these first steps. The certification has a lot of environmental indicators, and last year we started to add more social indicators, such as the beneficiaries of social health system, such as the school dropout rates. We want to know if people are about people well-being. We want to know about that, and we want to give that importance because we are placing the residents as in the core of our sustainability, of our tourism sustainability strategy. And how do we move forward from that? Well, first we collect these indicators, not just the GDP, but many other indicators that we still have some challenges in collecting many of them, as I spoke of. And after that, we have created governmental working groups, grouped by themes. One of the working groups that we recently created last year was the happiness and well-being group, where we involved governmental departments such as the education, health, social security
Carolina,
departments.
let me try to only to ask to Miguel also once that you
Yes.
talk about this, because Comporta is also related with the source. It's also sensible and protected environmental area. So how do you relate all the management of the
Listen,
hotel with
we were actually the first ones to get there, right? Like, so we opened in 2014, you know, it's been 10 years now. I always say this, like, I think we're really lucky that this place was only started its development in the 2000s and not in the 90s, because otherwise it would have become like just another coast of the south of Portugal, south of Spain, south of France, you know, overly developed. So we're lucky that, you know, zoning laws were in place, people had more conscious as to, like, you know, what should be done and what shouldn't. Were there abuses in some projects? You know, you could argue that. You know, it's very popular now to talk about the destination as being just, you know, a place for the rich and all that and all this, but you also, you know, it's good to understand that operating in a place like that where you don't even have, you know, you don't have water, you don't have anything, you don't have any infrastructure, it costs a lot of money, so you have to kind of like bring that from somewhere. But yeah, and I think the Azores is also lucky, you know, that the attention, it's on the spotlight at the right time, right? Like, you know, you look at the Madeira Islands, and the way that, you know, the tourism was developed there was very different. And so, you know, we're in a time where the consultation between the public sector and the private sector is better. Could it be better? Yes, it could. But I think it's definitely much better than it was before. It's also, you know, I think for the most part, like, we're all more conscious of what the impacts are. And also, you know, it's what Carolina was showing on the first slide. What people want is to go to these remote places, right? Like the richness of our regions is not the infrastructure itself, is actually the lack thereof. So
Yes.
you also want to go to a safe place. You want to go to a place that's incredibly interesting, that takes great pictures, that you can, you know, have a really good time with your family and friends and everything, and it's being secluded. The one thing that we need to be very careful with is where is the tipping point, right? Like, because we all want to have these regions developed, but we're all very wary, like, and we don't know really, like, you know, when is enough? You know, when do we get to a point that we're just like, we're done? Because usually if you look historically, cities usually go to that point that say like, no more hotels in my city, no more hotels in my
Yes.
country.
Nowadays,
when it's too late, right? That you
Yes.
have that in Amsterdam, you have that in Barcelona. So like, it's when it gets to a point where it's already like no return. So I think what we need to be better, you know, private sector, but definitely the public sector is to understand
now
what the
that
tipping
we have
point
to
is.
manage more, better. Well, we are completely running out of time, so I will only ask to Roberto say in one sentence how can we see the future of tourism in urban areas.
It's intertwined with sustainability. There's no other way, because we see that there is not only it's not only a rule to be applied. It's actually a common belief that we need to see positive impacts on the quality of our well-being and the future generations. So I see this more and more in the speech of responsible people and on the feeling of families and others. So there's no other way that there will be tourism in cities that it's not connected. And we see this already being applied. We see the innovations really thriving on solutions, on making sure that there is less impact. We see businesses which are brand new and are offering ways of offsetting, amongst other things. So there is a beautiful side on the economy that will, I believe, will grow much more than our GDP does. I think if we measure that, those little businesses now that are promoting those positive impacts, you will see how fast they grow, much more above the average of our economy. So I see the beauty of course, we need to go back and reset the way that we see the growth of economies, which is not only the GDP. And I see that there is still economy on the old way of looking at it, which is being born from sustainability, which is actually delivering a much faster growth than the old economy.
Thank you, Roberto. Round of applause for Carolina, Miguel, and Roberto. As you can see, we getting back to the opening in the words of the Aveiro mayor that said that everything is related with the four words, with the identity, also sustainability, democracy in terms of the engagement and participation of the community, and also innovation and technology.
Let me just say one thing real quick, because we, you know, as our company, for example, we're very lucky that we have enough income to make sure that we can abide by the best practices. This is not true in most companies, right? Like, this is not true in most small hotels, small rent-a-cars, like all this stuff. So, you know, we need to make sure that we find an environment where, you know, there's no other way other than being sustainable. You know, our fiscal policies also
have to get
acts
the
that
balance.
way, right? Because otherwise, like, if you are to choose, and you know, it's a really good example is the carbon offset for the airplanes. If it was mandatory, everyone would do it, right? Like,
yes.
It would be more expensive to fly, but everyone would do it. So it's always like, you know, some of these measures can actually help out all the other businesses, also with tax breaks and all these things, to make sure that they can abide. Because we're lucky that we can. We're lucky that we can offer this to our guests, and our guests are able to pay the premium for that. But most places are not. So this is what I think is important to the sector as a whole.
Thank you, Miguel. Once again, a round of applause to getting Ed